Welcome to the Barker Podcast Collection.
I suck, you suck, I suck at Call of Duty.
Welcome to the Not Playing Podcast. My name's Rob Howard, and this week I'm joined by
Ian Bruce, Patrick Kane,
and Adam Scott. Hello.
You can contact us on email at notplayingpodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at notplayingpod. Patrick, you've been playing Soma, and I'm very interested in hearing about this.
Cool.
Here he comes.
So it's absolutely great. A little bit difficult for me to tell you too much about spoilers, obviously. Because it's a very story-driven game. How many of you guys actually played the original Amnesia?
I played for about 3 minutes, and then my computer broke, so I couldn't play anymore.
Yeah, I'm in the same. I had a very similar gameplay experience with it as well. Yeah. It's great. So basically, what I will tell you about the story, because it's very much a story-driven thing in that it's the only reason you're going to realistically want to push yourself through these kind of scary games is that there's some sort of mystery, and you sort of gather pieces of the puzzle as you move through the environment. But essentially, you start off as someone who a year previously had been in a car accident. And I think it's implied that your wife or your girlfriend died in this accident, and that ever since you've been suffering from these horrendous headaches that are persistent. You've been going for medical treatment to treat them, and basically you go off to this doctor, and he's doing a scan of your brain, and as you're having the scan, he sort of, explains that it's not going to hurt and it'll take a few seconds, and you close your eyes, and when you open them, you're somewhere completely different. You're at the bottom of the sea, and everything's messed up. Everything's dark. The power's off. There's blood in quite a lot of places. And you, through going through computers and through finding documents throughout the world, you find out that it's actually 100 years later, and that the world had been anticipating a catastrophic event. Basically, a comet was heading towards the Earth, and from then on, you have to kind of piece together more of the puzzle. There's lots of kind of environment driven puzzles. So using certain computer keys on certain computers, switching on certain machines, blah blah blah. But there's also interaction with AI in it. And these are they're kind of these sort of half robot, half human things. I don't want to tell you too much, but essentially, you're.
I can sort of tell
I can't
where
tell.
it's going,
I'm not.
but
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you any more than that, because it's a little bit. It gets a bit. But basically, yeah, it's a fantastic game.
Did you find yourself pinching off a deuce? That's the real question here.
It was terrifying all the way through. I was surprised actually that I had a lot of the same sort of reactions to playing Alien Isolation in the Rift.
Wow,
yeah, I had a lot of the same sort of reactions to that, and which is interesting because it's not really built the same way, and it wasn't in VR, but I did find myself looking away from the screen and wincing and closing my eyes in certain bits. But it does a really interesting thing, and the original Amnesia did this as well, and it's kind of what makes it interesting, and what makes it different to a lot of horror games. Things like fear and Silent Hill, whatever. But essentially what it does is it encourages you to look away from the enemy. So when there's a persistent enemy in the game that keeps coming back, and these are kind of moments of like extreme stress, and you're kind of escaping, or you're trying to sneak past this entity. But when you look directly at them, your vision becomes blurred and distorted. You get this kind of weird, smeary, chromatic aberration effect across the screen, and everything kind of messes up, and you hear a horrible noise. And basically, it's encouraging you to look away and to run away. It's like implying that you're kind of becoming psychologically disturbed by looking at it. There was a similar sort of thing in. Yeah, there was a similar sort of thing in Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth as well, where looking at things would kind of disturb you and mess up your vision. But in this, it's you actually use that to make sure you go in the right direction and to escape it, and to go around this entity. But it's really good thing to use for a horror game, because if you think about it, what you're essentially trying to do is convince the player they're more scared of the enemy than they actually are. You're training them to look away from it all the time and to escape it, instead of trying to break the game and go up to it and look at it and inspect it. It's actually actively encouraging you by a gameplay mechanic to look away. And it works really, really well. It does make you feel more scared of it. In fact, there was bits where I was struggling to get past them because I was getting too stressed, because it was chasing me, and I was finding it hard to concentrate and become aware of the room that I had to run through and the way that I had to run through it and do it in the right time. So what I had to do was, instead of turning away from it and running away, I had to actually turn around, run up to it, and just like confront it so that I could just get over it. That was the only way that I could get past that part in the game. It was essentially cheating, because I had basically broken the game mechanic. So that was the only way that I got past that bit, essentially. But there's lots of moments that play on huge amounts of tension. Implied threats are in the game a lot. By that I mean there's lots of parts where it will make you think that maybe something's going to happen rather than actually making something happen, and it has quite a lot more weight because of that, I think. The thing that impressed me the most about the game, other than that base core mechanic of influencing the player to look away, and also the sound, which was incredible. The sound design in this is probably the best in a horror game since Dead Space. It's really, really something else. And the voice acting as well, I thought was really great, really consistent all the way through. But the thing that really, really impressed me the most was the storyline. It was something that was sort of so sophisticated and so uncommon that it would blow you away if you had it in a film. So it was enormously impressed by the writing of the story. It was basically very kind of highbrow sci-fi, I guess you'd say. If you've read any kind of like Ian Banks or stuff like that was the kind of level I felt that it was at. There was there was absolutely none of this generic evil versus good stuff that you see in so many things, and it was a real breath of fresh air, and it actually felt like a bit of a milestone as a game. I think it's only so often that games like that can come along, and I think I don't know if it'll like get the appreciation that it deserves, but I really did believe that it was one of the best horror games I've ever played, and it's very easy to say that.
And you're not so. What I like about it, from the sound of it, is that it's a first-person game where you're not shooting anything. It's like you're interacting with the environment in a lot more meaningful ways than just, pointing at stuff and shooting it. It's all puzzle-based stuff, isn't it? Like, you're not... And like
That's
you say,
right.
buggering off and running away.
Yeah, lots of running away. And it's not only running away, it's sneaking around things, sneaking past things. But the tension of the game was it was constant through the whole thing. And I can't really say enough good things about it.
Have you finished it,
I have finished it, yeah.
And how long did it take you?
Probably 2 or 3 evenings, I guess.
Okay. And is it the kind of game where you can go off and do a bit of exploring, or are you just going from A to B without shitting yourself?
There was a couple of environments, a couple of locations that you could explore, and you could find out more about the story.
Right.
That you didn't need to do.
Okay.
I noticed a few of those going through it, but it was very much a story. It's telling a story, and so it was linear in that way. Absolutely, totally linear in that way.
Are there any?
But that worked. That worked for this.
Oh yeah, like it's the only way you could do something like this. I think when you're constantly sort of guiding the player through very kind of well drawn environments, which a lot of which are like very kind of impactful. Like there's lots of kind of environmental changes in that, like you would go from like being in a little lab to being out in the sea all of a sudden, and then suddenly you're on some huge structure climbing up a ladder underwater, and then suddenly you're inside a radio tower or something. There's lots of like that kind of dynamic changing, so it's totally like a linear thing, but it's the only way to kind of make that sort of thing, I think.
Are there any like RPG elements, or is it more of a sort of straight adventure? It's just right. So you're exploring, puzzle solving. That's still pretty cool, though.
Yeah, I think in a game like that,
really
why would you need RPG elements? Like that seems like
it doesn't need gimmicks.
And that's the point.
It doesn't.
So many games these days have RPG elements, and I love RPG elements. I stab myself in the face just saying the phrase, but I love the gameplay mechanic of choosing skills and getting better at deciding which were things my characters are stronger at. But Christ, shoehorning that into every game just because that's the norm is like so the wrong way to think about game design, in my opinion. It's just
absolutely
a game like this where you wake up, you are who you are. Most people are who you are, and in the space of a short period of time in which you're traversing a story and a plot. Really, you're going to get that much stronger. You're going to get so much better at shooting shotguns. I think it's a fallacy. I'm glad to see games that don't do it from time to time, because it allows you just to focus on who you are and enjoying the story rather than how you can optimize your builds to be the most.
Managing a spreadsheet.
Yeah, fuck that.
I agree. I mean, there's like you said, there's every place for RPG elements in RPG games, but to shoehorn them into every single game, it is getting a little bit overdone.
It's a bit ridiculous,
and this was very much like an interactive kind of puzzle-driven, horror-driven story. And it'd be too many layers of abstraction to add upgrades and stuff like that. I don't think like adding like a Metroidvania sort of style upgrade path or anything like that would sort of add anything to the game.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm not suggesting that there should be. And it sounds like there aren't the kind of game mechanics in the game to support that. Anyway, it's not like you're gonna.
It's not BioShock.
No,
basically.
What are you going to do? Get faster? What difference is that
exactly.
Gonna make? But no, it's cool. It sounds to me like sort of System Shock with all of the RPG stuff stripped away, basically.
Yeah.
Or Outlast.
And it's Amnesia. It's Amnesia at the bottom of the sea.
Okay.
Well, it's on my wish list.
It's on my wish list as well.
It's good. And this,
I can see that.
This isn't a VR game, is it? This is a
No.
Meat
No.
Spacer game.
Is it something that they could convert, or do you think it would
No.
benefit from? No, because of the amount
No, I
of
don't
like
think so.
sort of camera effects and stuff they do and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it would be annoying. I can't remember actually. It was because it's been a couple of weeks now since I played it, but I think there was a fair amount of taking the camera controls away from the player, which wouldn't be good. And but
Most disconcerting.
Yeah, but also although it's really great atmospheric environments. And maybe I'm just getting too picky an eye for this now, but there was lots of kind of 2D billboarding stuff going on, which is a bit jarring in VR.
Okay.
It works totally fine in 2D, but I don't think it would have. I don't think it benefited a huge deal in VR, and I think a lot of people just noped out because it's just a bit too scary.
Yeah.
I see, there's a lot of them. With my 9 minutes and Outlast or whatever it is.
This has been the Not Playing Podcast in partnership with notlistening.co.uk, where you can also hear myself and Ian talk about movies and TV on the Not Watching Podcast, and Adam, Ash and Will, not that one, talk about all manner of funny things on the Not Listening Podcast. You can also let us know what we're doing right or wrong via email at notplayingpodcast@gmail.com. You can tweet at or follow us on Twitter at notplayingpod. You can find the show notes of this show at notlistening.co.uk, and if you're listening to us on iTunes, then please do give us a review. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for listening. See ya!
I suck at Call of Duty.